right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from John Jewett at 4 days out from the Toronto Pro. Now, I believe that John is the only frontrunner that I left out of yesterday's video because we didn't have as recent of a physique update from him as we had from Quint Beastwood, from Akim, from Hassan. I think he was like the only guy that I left out of that video. But luckily, we got a physique update from him today. Now, the reason why that I feel John is going to be one of the front runners in this lineup, I kind of explained to you several times in yesterday's video. But I really do think this is going to be a show that comes down to conditioning, and John is a guy that brings conditioning, whereas none of these other top guys are really known for being consistent when it comes to conditioning. Even if they've brought good conditioning in the past, they're not very consistent with it. And I know that John comes from 212, so it's a little bit harder to say he's going to be consistent with this conditioning in open, but in 212 he was. And frankly, on Instagram, the guy has looked like he's been ready to step on stage for like the past 6 weeks. The guy's been in like peeled condition for like months now. Even though he's a little bit flat here, he hasn't had carbs yet, so he looks a little bit, maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? He looks a little bit underwhelming. And I know that sounds like crazy disrespectful. I don't like that word either, but you guys know what I mean. I feel like once he adds in those carbs and starts to fill out, that's where you're really going to see his conditioning start to shine. He's going to get more vascular. He's going to get more full. You're going to see that skin get thinner because the muscle's pushing up against it more. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, another guy that we did actually finally get a recent physique update from, we talked about him yesterday, Akim Williams. So we had an update from Akim, although it was from, like 3 weeks ago, May 18th. But finally, he posted a recent one today. Now, he does say that this was 1 week out from the Toronto Pro Show, so maybe this was taken a couple days ago because Sunday would be exactly 1 week out. He does look better here than he looked in his May 18th update. And while Akim kind of has this like trademark thicker skin, kind of a watery look, especially before he steps on stage, I feel like you can notice he's got some deeper striations in his chest. He's got some striations in his shoulders. You can see some cross striations in his quads. So I know in these updates he doesn't look as conditioned as even some of the other guys. Not even just John, but maybe a guy like Quentin. But for Akim, this is conditioned. This is a good update for Akim. And typically he'll show like his side profile where he's got this crazy separation in his legs. The front straight on gym shots usually aren't the most flattering for Akim when he's prepping. But I think so much of Akim's final look on stage really comes down to water manipulation because he really holds that water in his skin. He's got like this just thick film over his muscle. He's usually in pretty good shape, but it's like a water issue, and it's something that he usually fixes in those very final stages of peak week, even maybe the day of the show. So I've kind of noticed this with Akim over the past couple of years that as he gets closer to a show, he doesn't really look crazy in his prep physique updates, and then he looks a lot different on stage, and I feel like it's just because he holds that film of water, really up until the last couple days or the day of the show. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you guys think is the favorite to win the Toronto Pro based on what you've seen so far? Now, next up in the news, I want to talk about this Olympia battle that featured Derek Lunsford, Nick Walker, and Samson Dauda training together and then posing together in front of like a small crowd in a gym. So on one hand, I really like that they do this because think about how limited media was for all the other years of the Olympia. This will be the 60th year of the Olympia. Social media has only been around, 10, 15 years maybe? So for 45 odd years of the Olympia, they weren't making videos for the internet. They weren't even really taking pictures for the internet yet. That kind of came with social media. So really all it was back in the day was maybe a guest posing here and there, maybe an article or a photo shoot for the magazines back in the day. So I do like that the Olympia is trying to do these like media events, these little media spectacles where they take the stars of bodybuilding or classic physique, and they do this for other divisions too, and they have them get together, train, and pose together sometimes. So on one hand, like I said, I really like that they do this. They're kind of trying to make do. They're trying to make the best with what they've got. They're trying to take bodybuilding into a more social media online direction and have these events where they get some cool media for the fans. I like that. But at the same time, it also makes me see why bodybuilding isn't mainstream. And we see lots of examples of this, but I think this is one of them. It's because aside from the actual competition, what do you really do with these bodybuilders? I mean, to hardcore bodybuilding fans, yes, this video is cool. It's cool to see these guys train together. It's cool to see them pose together. But to anybody else from the outside looking in, I feel like this is not bringing new bodybuilding fans. And that's okay. I don't think bodybuilding needs to be mainstream. But a regular person watching this, like these three really buff guys in the gym, then this crowd of people behind them just kind of being like, you know, golf clapping, like, oh, yeah, hit that front double. It's weird to the general public. And this is like all you really can do with them is have them train together, make content with it. And frankly, you know, like I said, for a fan like me, a bodybuilding fan, it's cool to see these guys train together. But to other people, honestly, the training part was kind of cringe. It's like them yelling motivational quotes at each other and like trying to push each other. These guys that are competitors, maybe loosely friends. It just felt forced. So that's kind of my thing with it. I thought this was cool. Like I said, cool to see them pose together, cool to see them train together. It's cool to put these different competitors together in these little events. And I feel like the Olympia is taking that extra step to try to maximize their competition, their competitors, the online presence of these stars, really. So I appreciate that, but at the same time, like I said, it just feels like there's not much more you can do with these guys. I feel like with other sports, you can put the athletes like in an interview style situation, like mainstream I'm talking, or like on a sports show, and they would actually be able to talk about, you know, drama with teammates, drama with another team, you know, who are they playing this Saturday? Or if it's a UFC fighter, they're talking about why they want to rip this guy's head off. They don't like each other. They're trying to sell a fight. But with bodybuilders, they kind of all do the same thing. If they go on a talk show, they're just flexing or training or talking about training or talking about eating. If they're doing an interview, they're talking about training, talking about eating. Very few of them, because it's not a fight, it's a bodybuilding competition, very few of them are coming on an interview talking about, you know, how bad they want to beat this other guy. They just say, I want to be the best version of myself. I want to beat last year's version of me. There's not a whole lot to talk about, and there's not like these big mainstream selling points for bodybuilding. And I feel like it always boils down to, you know, even with a company like the Olympia that has all these great ideas for bodybuilding, trying to, you know, bring it into the online era, no matter how many good ideas you have, I feel like it always just comes back to make them flex, make them train. That's all people really want to see. And I feel like that's why bodybuilding's reach is kind of diminished, because that's what the hardcore fan base wants to see. And we're really just, I don't think we're ever really going to deviate from that. Again, not that there's anything wrong with it. That's just always my thought when I see these things. It's like, it's cool to see it so highly produced and advertised. Like they had this on the local news there. They had like flyers made and posters, and they made it like this big event. And then it always comes down to make them flex, make them work out. And it just always reminds me, oh, that's why bodybuilding's not mainstream. It's not made to be. And that's not a bad thing, because that's what we like. I feel like that's what bodybuilding fans enjoy. But think about it. I mean, a big event in bodybuilding, they flew these guys out for this. It's three dudes posing in a gym. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about. Now, of this group, who stood out to me the most? Honestly, Nick. And probably because he competed the most recently. But he just had a little bit of extra pop to his physique. He was more conditioned than both Samson and Derek. And I feel like he just stood out just a little bit more. But as far as who do I think is going to place the highest of the three at the Olympia, I think it will be Derek again. I'm not saying I think Derek will win again, but I just don't see either of them, Nick or Samson, beating Derek yet. And I really wish Hadi was there. We actually did get a physique update from Hadi 2 days ago. This was on June 1st when he says this picture was taken. And this is why I would have liked to see Hadi in the mixes, because even though Hadi hasn't competed recently, he looks like he might have been as conditioned as Nick was, even though he's just like right in the middle of his off season. And really, at this point, does Hadi even have an off season? I mean, the guy is just constantly shredded. And again, I got to be totally honest with you guys. I feel like of all these guys, based on the way Hadi just back-to-back dominated the Arnold Classic UK and the Arnold Classic Ohio, I feel like there's a very strong chance that Hadi could come back and win his title back. I just said how I don't see Samson or Nick beating Derek yet. I don't see either one of them beating Hadi either, and we just saw Hadi beat Samson twice back-to-back. Nick Walker, on the other hand, has never beaten Hadi, even though he hasn't gotten beaten by Hadi recently. I feel like Hadi and Derek are kind of in a league of their own right now, and I feel like the battle is still between them, and that's why I would have liked to see Hadi in the mix with Nick and Samson. So that's my honest take on this whole thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick, Strength, and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look, and all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.